the delight of a new morning and the new growth. Are those flowers? Yeah. So they're new flowers. Come on, camera. Where are we going here? There we are. I turned off the Wi-Fi and somehow it came back on for some reason. But now we have that fixed, hopefully. We had a couple of dry days now, so things are drying up again. There's Tiberias in front of us. And here we have our waning, setting full moon. Further higher up. There we go. There's a word that is repeated in both letters, in both texts today, the reading and the gospel. The word is authority. It's repeated a lot with a lot of consciousness, kind of intentional. There's a very strong impression of authority. Authority and author. Somebody can talk about a book, but if you get the author to talk about it, you're at the source. The person who authored this. Also, we have the word authorize. And the person who authorizes something has the ability to authorize it. Otherwise, it wouldn't be authorized. And the fascinating thing about the New Testament, it's the experience of people here at the Sea of Galilee who ponder and recall and record and write down what they experienced, particularly up there at that shore. And there, a little to the right of center, you have Capernaum. Now it's in the very center. That white spot there is the Greek Orthodox Church. And so we're in a very concrete place on the planet Earth, here at the Sea of Galilee. And with all places, then there's time. Time and place go together. We say here and now, in the here and now. Over there, back then. In that place, tomorrow. It is a framework of human experience. Winter is a time period with particular weather. Today was 9 degrees in the morning, just below 10 degrees Celsius. And summer is a different time. And in between there's spring and autumn. Times and places. And there was a time here 2,000 years ago, and there was an extraordinary experience of authority. And this generated the New Testament. Which speaks of this experience an experience of time and place. Here you have a camera, so you have an extra assist in accepting that this is actually here at the Sea of Galilee. Because if I just was on the phone with you, I could be in California and I could pretend I was at the Sea of Galilee. But here you can see. And then some of you know me for a while, so you trust that what I'm telling you is true. And that's the whole role of witnesses, the trust in a witness. And a witness also has to, in a certain sense, give their credentials. I was there at that time. I saw him. I was in the synagogue when he did that miracle. I know the people, I know the family. There were people who knew Jairus and who knew his wife, who knew the daughter that was raised from the dead. There were people in Jerusalem who came to see Lazarus, who was risen. And even later on, when we see the accounts of things like of the Via Dolorosa, it says Simon helped Jesus to carry the cross, but it gives you a specification. It says Simon, the father of Alexander and Rufus, which wouldn't make much sense if the people didn't know who Alexander and Rufus were, if they didn't maybe know them personally even. In that context of the narrative of Jesus' life in a community, then Alexander and Rufus may even have been members of the community. At that point, maybe older members of the community. Oh, and there's that bird is still there, perched like always on this big rock. Will you fly for us, little bird? Or big bird? You have given your son rule over the works of your hands, and there you have also authority conferred. And this is a psalm. It's Psalm 8. And so these people who are familiar with the Psalms, who've been praying the Psalms, and who are processing what they experienced at the Sea of Galilee, now apply this psalm in the letter to the Hebrews to Jesus. And it says, it was not to angels that God subjected the world to come. And then it quotes Psalm 8. What is man that you are mindful of him, or the son of man that you care for him? You have made him little lower than the angels for a while. You crowned him with glory and honor, subjecting all things under his feet. This is amazing. Subjecting all things. But this experience, you see, comes from what happened in Capernaum in the Gospel. Jesus came to Capernaum with his followers, and on the Sabbath he entered the synagogue and taught the people. They were astonished at his teaching, for he taught with authority. And the men with the unclean spirit cried out, and Jesus says, "Quiet, come out of him." And the unclean spirit came out with a loud cry. And they were all amazed. What is this? A new teaching with authority. He commands even the unclean spirits, and they obey him. His fame spread everywhere. So it's these original experiences that stimulate the minds, the curious minds, the inquiring minds, the pondering minds of the people over there at Capernaum. There you have the Mount of Beatitudes behind that bush in the little left of center. And then you have another bit of plastic cover there in the very center. And just off again the same amount over to the right of there, you have Capernaum. So over there in that place at that time, people participated and saw, and they give witness. But it's an astonishing happening, and they ponder and try to explain it. And they take hold of their scriptures. And as they continue to ponder and write them, as they would pious people on a regular basis, then little by little they're coming to grips and receiving understanding and light, trying to figure out, who is this Jesus? And then the letter to the Hebrews is one of those texts of the New Testament that reach a great level of insight, comprehension, and expression of this mystery. It becomes canonical. It becomes the measure of how to understand Jesus. Expressed then for a very concrete, particular audience at that time, but an incredible treasure for us today as we explore the thinking of those people, how they processed the data that they were receiving. And maybe there's also a stimulus for us in our time. We're faced by issues and problems and needs. And we turn also to the scriptures for light, for understanding, to stimulate our mind and our heart to deal with, to process, to wrap our minds around issues of our times. The issues of violence in our society, the issues of injustice, the issues of suffering, the meaning of our own lives. You know, you feel terrible pain in your heart when somebody writes to you and says, "Life sucks." There's a lot of pain in life, a lot of frustration. Also a lot of mistaken reliance on substitutes to heal the heart from the wounds we have carried, that we experience. And to bring out a new springtime in a person's heart, in a person's life, is a great favor, a great deed of kindness. And that's the gift of the scriptures. Look at all these little seeds. Imagine all the future there for this plant and those little seeds. So much will grow, and the scripture's like that. The scripture has so many seeds for our growth. So much marvelous realities, ponderings, blessings. So right here and now, from this spot on the Sea of Galilee, wishing you every blessing today. And here we're also looking up here at Mount Arbel, right behind me, the southern cliffs. We weren't here for a while. We'll have to get up there someday soon. See you later, alligators.